Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Sadgurum Brahmadishwaram Vasudeva Sutam Devam Hamsachanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum Tvameva Mata Cha Pita Tvameva Tvameva Bandhusya Sakha Tvameva Tvameva Vidya Dravidam Tvameva Tvameva Sarvam Amadeva Deva Tvameva Sarvam Gurudeva Deva. Hari Om. We are doing the Panchadashi and 7th chapter, Trupti Deepa Prakaranam. That is the contentment of a realized soul after recognizing that Aham Brahmasmi, since he is full by himself, so he doesn't have any more desire for it, and therefore desire for any object. So Atmaneva Atmanatushtaha, he is reveling in himself by himself. Therefore Prajahati Yada Kaman Sarvan Parthamanogatam. So there is no more desire for any object, because all objects are only for getting happiness, for becoming full, but he is already full, or recognize that I am already full. Therefore he has no more longing for any object for his satisfaction. So Atmaneva Atmanatushtaha. So he is satisfied by himself. That is called Trupti, and the whole chapter is called by Vidyaranya. But it is a commentary on the Brahma Sutra, on the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad mantra from 4th chapter, 4th Brahmana, 12th mantra. Atmanam ched vidaniyat ayam asmi iti purushaha kimichan kasya kamaya sariram anusanjared. So Atmanam ched vidaniyat, the Vidhivakyam also sounds like Vidhivakyam. So one should know oneself. But everybody thinks they know themselves, but obviously scripture saying that because you really don't know yourself, you think you know yourself. So I am asmiti purushaha, I am asmiti, I am means I am full by myself, not I am this. That's what our normal understanding of myself is. I am this, I am this, I am this. So this is an object and I am a subject, so I cannot be this. So then who am I? So who am I cannot be any described, but the only thing that can be describable is only an object, this. So I am not an object, I am the subject. And subject cannot be described other than I am. So therefore I am involves, I am a conscious entity and I am an existent entity, and that am asmiti. So this involves both indirect knowledge and the direct knowledge. There are two aspects of the knowledge that is required. One is the indirect. What is indirect knowledge? I should know what the world is. Because even though if I want to know who I am, I also should know what is this world, because I am dealing with the world all the time. Because I am trying to gain happiness out of the world. So I feel limited by the whole world. The earth itself is limited, and the solar system is much limited. It's only part becomes a point in the whole solar system. And in the galaxy, even the sun becomes a point, and there are millions or billions of galaxies. So I am becoming smaller and smaller and smaller in the process, and the whole universe is so big, and I want to know what is this universe. How did it come? Why did I end up in this universe? And why am I so limited here? All by the one who wants to know the truth. That one cannot but inquire, because that's the nature of the human mind. Human mind wants to know why. And that's why the science also develops, because even though apple has been falling down for ages, only one person asks, why is it falling down? So why don't you just eat and enjoy like everybody else? Why are you asking unnecessary questions? I will eat, enjoy, but why is it falling down? So the curiosity to know why and how all these questions come to an inquiring mind. An inquiring mind cannot but inquire when he finds itself he is limited by the whole universe here. So I am here and the whole universe is pouncing on me because it's unbounded. In fact, it seems to be infinite. The more I look for, the more it is revealing in any subject, and therefore I am being limited by space-wise, time-wise, object-wise. And how can I become happy when I don't have so much and I am limited by all? and that becomes a pursuit for happiness. So I am not looking for consciousness, I am not looking for existence, I am only looking for Ananda. And Ananda, where I am looking for having this object, that object, this object, because that gives me happiness, this gives me happiness. But that whatever expecting happiness is not completely full, then because another desire comes into picture. So rat race from the birth to the death, or from the womb to the tomb, I've been searching for happiness. But not only in this life, life after life after life, because in the process of searching, I am developing vasanas or ragadveshas that propel me to look for environment that is conducive to my likes and avoid the environment that are not conducive to my likes or that things I dislike. And these ragadveshas come into picture, and that comes because of, I think this gives me happiness and that gives me suffering. And therefore, I am going after objects of happiness, and those objects that gave me happiness before are not anymore giving me happiness anymore, because the first time happiness is different from the second time happiness. You know, we just saw, sometimes we go to some excursion and see beautiful and says, it's so beautiful, I wish my wife also comes and sees that. So you come wife, you bring wife also next time, then she's enjoying for the first time, but you will say, last time it was even better. Why? I am comparing now two things. One is what is perceived this time and what was perceived before. When she was enjoying for the first time, so every experience that you want to repeat it, it will not be as good as the first time experience, and that seems to be the problem with any experiential based happiness itself. And therefore, Scripture says, Atmanam Chet Vijanaya. That's what 96 we are doing. He repeats the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad mantra here, first line. Let's chant that sloka 96. Atmanam Chet Vijaniyat, Atmanam Chet Vijaniyat, Ayamasmiti Vakyataha, Ayamasmiti Vakyataha, Brahmatma Vyaktimullekya, Brahmatma Vyaktimullekya, Yo Bodhas Sobidhiyate, Yo Bodhas Sobidhiyate. Together, Atmanam Chet Vijaniyat, Ayamasmiti Vakyataha, Brahmatma Vyaktimullekya, Yo Bodhas Sobidhiyate. So, Yaha Bodhaha, that means that knowledge of that I am Brahmasmi, Brahmatma Vyakti, Brahma Atma Vyakti, Brahma Atma Vyaktim, that means Brahma and Atma Vyakti, that is the identity relationship between the self and the Brahman, that means Tattvamasi statement. And Saha, that knowledge, Atmanam Chet Vijaniyat Ayamasmi iti Vakyataha, the statement is that what is to be implied. So here the Vidyaranya says, Ayamasmi iti Atmanam Chet Vijaniyat, you have to know the Atma. So what is that Atma that I have to know? What is the Scripture is trying to tell me? And then he says, what Scripture is trying to tell you is, you have to recognize that this consciousness that I am is the consciousness everywhere. So Aham Brahmasmi or Tattvamasi, that Mahavakya Vichara is what is being pointed out by Atmanam Chet Vijanayat. You have to know yourself, because you have a wrong notion about yourself, and therefore you are having a different problems. You concluded yourself, I am only limited guy, and you are unhappy, and you are having a limited knowledge, or you are limited by time, and you are limited by knowledge. So since you don't like limitations, your nature is infiniteness, and you are assuming you are limited because the body, mind and intellect are limited. So superimposing the qualities of the body, mind, intellect on yourself, and take that body, mind, intellect as I am, and therefore the limitations of the body, mind, intellect has become your limitations. Then how do you solve the problem? Solve the problem is, I want to acquire more knowledge because I want to be knowledgeable person. But every knowledge in your seeking, any objective knowledge, the more knowledge you gain, the more ignorant you become. That means only because the more knowledge you seek, you find out there are a lot more things that you need to know. which you did not know before. That's why you are becoming a super specialist in smaller and smaller and smaller field. So in all objective knowledge, in every objective knowledge, you become a super specialist in a narrower and narrower field. That means you are knowing more and more and more about less and less and less. That's true in every field of knowledge. So therefore, you can never know even one subject thoroughly in any subject, in any art, anywhere. The more in depth you go, the more it reveals, and the more you want to know more about that. So that becomes the nature of the objective knowledge itself. So therefore, you will never become a knowledgeable person. That's why you know that what you know is very little compared to what you need to know. You become a humble in the process. Whereas the Upanishad student wants to know, sir, teach me that knowledge, I will know everything. So he says, you cannot know anything according to objective knowledge. Whereas here, a Brahma Vidya student asks, says, Kasminno bhagavo vijñāte sarvamidam vijñātam bhavati. Sir, please teach me that knowledge knowing which I will know everything. And teacher says, yes, you can know, provided if you know the essence, then everything is only product of that. If I know gold, you know all the ornaments in principle. You know, so you have a substantive knowledge. You may not know the details of superficial names and forms, but you have the essential knowledge, and that's exactly what the scripture says. So I should know the essential knowledge. What is the essential knowledge? From which the whole universe came, by which it is sustained, into which it goes back. So that is the moolam, the adharam, the substantive from which the whole universe is only appearance superimposed on that. So if I know the essence, then I know the whole universe. In fact, whole universe means including what all things to be known also. And that is Brahman. Brahman means infiniteness. And infiniteness cannot be known because it is infinite. Only finite things you can know. So here is a problem where I want to know Brahman, but I cannot know Brahman. Why? It is aprameyam. It is not an object of knowledge. Then how do you solve the problem? That's why you need a Vedanta pramana. First, Brahma asti. So by indirectly, first I know what is the nature of Brahman by Vedanta Sravana Manana Nididhyasana. Then the scripture takes you further. It says, what is that Brahman? So what is that Brahman? How does it teach us? It teaches by Lakshartha, because it cannot say this is Brahman. So it teaches by Lakshartha, means indicative definition for me to contemplate in the direction. Then the truth has to get revealed by itself, because it's a self-revealing, self-conscious entity. How does it explain then? It says, Yat chachusha na pasyati, yena chachum se pasyati, tadeva brahma tvam viddhi, nedam edidam upasate. It says, Yat chachusha na pasyati, eyes cannot see. Why eyes cannot see? Because it's not an object. Infinite cannot be seen. Yat chachusha na pasyati, eyes cannot see. Then how am I going to know? Yena chachum se pasyati, that because of which eyes can see. That alone is Brahman. So how eyes can see? Eyes can only see because of through the mind. How mind can be? Mind is also inert. Mind can only problem because it has become a conscious entity. How does a mind become conscious entity? Because all-pervading consciousness, as though, quote unquote, is shining through the mind, making the inert mind as though a luminous entity. Just as the moon has become a luminous entity in the sky, even though moon itself is not does not have a luminosity. How did it become luminous? By reflecting sunlight, it has become a luminous entity. In the same way, the mind has become a luminous entity in terms of consciousness. It is revealing the consciousness, even though it doesn't have it, by reflecting consciousness, called Siddhabhasa. So how should I know myself? I had to know that what makes even the mind is knowable entity. I know my mind. I say, how I know my, who says I know my mind? Again, it's the mind only has to say. But how can it say? Mind is inert. So the consciousness through the mind as though is becoming a conscious entity. So the scripture asks you to point out what is that because of which even the mind is able to know. That is the direction you have to think. So now it becomes a meditation. Meditation is something that takes the mind beyond what you see. That's why we said, if you're looking my hand, it says there is a light falling on that, but also you're looking only the reflected light by the hand, but what you have to think is, looking at the hand, looking at the reflected light, think that there is original light that is falling on that which you cannot see. But by Viveka, Viveka means a discriminative intellect to see what is real and what is not real. The reflection is only reflection as long as the reflecting medium is there. But even without the reflecting medium, the original light is always there. So therefore, what is Nityam and what is Anityam? What is more real and what is less real? More real, at least in this example wise. What is that permanently real is the Brahman, because Brahman being infinite has to be there all the time. So therefore, Atmanam Chet Vijaniyat has to be understood properly, and here this Vidyaranya says, Ayamasmi iti vakyataha brahmatma vaikyamullikhya yovoda sobhideyate. So what he is telling in that statement of the scripture is telling is, you have to know through Mahavakya. Mahavakya is where the Jiva Brahma Aikya Bodhaka Vakya is Mahavakya. The identity of the self and the totality is that which the statement that provides you that is called Mahavakyam. And there are great statements of the Upanishad. They have selected 4 statements from the Upanishad. It says Prajnanam Brahma, consciousness is Brahman. So that's a Mahavakya where I say consciousness is Brahman, means it is infinite. So anything it is infinite means there cannot be anything other than consciousness. If it is anything other than consciousness, consciousness cannot be infinite. So statement is in a converse way. Converse way means it is necessary and sufficient qualification to define Brahman. That means consciousness is Brahman is a converse statement to make sure that anywhere there is a consciousness, it has to be Brahman. Like H2O is water. So water is H2O is direct statement. When I say H2O is water, a converse statement, that means wherever there is a H2O, it has to be water. There is no other choice. So that it becomes a necessary and sufficient also. You don't need anything else to define water. H2O, that's enough to say it is water. So it is a colorless, odorless, tasteless, all other secondary properties of water, but they are not necessary and sufficient. They are only some qualifications, some are necessary and some may not be necessary also. Some are also along with the attributes of the water. But what is necessary and sufficient is Swarupa Lakshanam. Swarupa means it's in its own nature, and what is its own nature of water is H2O. In the same way, what is the nature of Brahman is consciousness is Brahman. So anything not conscious, that it's not Brahman according to that statement. Therefore, if I say whole world is not conscious entity, then how can it be Brahman? So what you see is not really Brahman, but what you see is changing, and if there is a changing, there has to be changeless entity as the substantive in all these changing things. That's a law. Law of conservation demands that something is changing, means there has to be a changeless entity which is a substantive which doesn't change in this process. And that changeless entity is Sat Swarupam, because the existent part cannot change. You may change ring into bangle, bangle into necklace, necklace into bracelet, but the changeless part is the gold there. Because from gold they came, by gold they are sustained, into gold it goes back. In the same way, scripture uses this example to illustrate from Sat they came, by Sat they are sustained, and into Sat they go back. What is Sat? Existence itself. And in another Upanishad, it says it's the consciousness, it was there before, from consciousness they are coming out, from consciousness they are sustained, from consciousness or into consciousness it goes back. So in one Upanishad says it is Sat, another Upanishad says it is consciousness, and third Upanishad says Prajnanam Brahma, consciousness is infinite, and one Upanishad says Sat is Brahman, existence itself is Brahman. So what exactly is Brahman? He is going to tell that about it. But what it means is Sat is same as Chit, Chit is same as Ananda. So this identity relation has to be understood. When I say I am means I am a conscious entity, and conscious entity by converse process, this is anywhere conscious entity is there, it has to be Brahman, and that Brahmatma Vyakti Ullikya. So Brahma Atma Vyaktim Ullikya. So that which is knowledge that reveals the Brahma Atma Aikyam. That's what statement is. That's called Yo Bodhaha Saha, that Mahavakya Abhidhiyate. That has to be thought about. So that essentially goes back to the original mantra. At this stage says we have gone to Paroksha Jnanam, we have gone to Aparoksha Jnanam, we explained all the things that are involved. Now that is the essence of it. If you understood it, you have understood life itself is fulfilled, because the whole purpose of life is not other things. Other things is only meant for this. So this is the essence of life. Essence of not only this life, you have been going through life after life after life for this only. So this becomes the most important source, and this is important pursuit of life process itself, and life itself is fulfilled, one has gained. So the one who has done this is the mother itself is glorified because of the son has realized. That's what it says. Kulam pavitram jarani kutartha viswambara punyavati chatena. So whole kulam, the whole dynasty is beautified because a person has realized it in that kulam. Kulam pavitram janani krutartha. The mother itself is glorified because she gave a birth to that kind of son. And Vishwambara Punyavati Chatera. By your presence, the whole universe becomes a blessing indeed. By the blessed universe itself gets blessed by your presence itself. Because a lot of people are there in the universe who are rotten, more or less behaving like that. But at least one Mahatma, the Bhudevi will be very happy. Otherwise she has to run to Vishnu, please save me because the sins are becoming more and I cannot bear the burden. So that's what our Puranic stories say. Along with the gods, Bhudevi goes to Vishnu, please come down and help me so that I can get rid of all these the bad fellows in the universe. And because he promised that I will come whenever to protect the dharma. So only when the dharma to be protected, he will come. If there is only adharma, there is nothing to protect. So when a Mahatma comes, there is essentially dharma gets established. So Brahmatma Vyakti Mullikya Yobodo Sobidiyate. So with that, the essential teaching he has started is he started with the Purushaha, he started with what is I am, and that led to this teaching up to this point. Now he is going to address what are the obstacles in self-realization, where the problem is, because everybody listens to Vedanta and no one says, I claim that I know now Brahman. So this is the problem, and where the problems are being discussed now in terms of the obstacles in the self-realization. So first he is going to list what are the problems. Let's chant Sloka 97. Astu bodho parikshotra, astu bodho parikshotra, mahavakya tatapyasau, mahavakya tatapyasau, nadrudaha savanadinam, nadrudaha savanadinam, acharyai punariranat, acharyai punariranat. Together, astu bodho parokshotra, Mahavakya tatapyasau nadrudaha savanadinam acharyaihi punariranat. So Mahavakya, by the inquiry of the Mahavakya, aparoksha bodhaha, this immediate and direct, because I am directly there available. For everything I have to search everywhere, because I am there as I am. As I give example in the pitch dark room, I know I am there, I know I am conscious entity. So because I am self-revealing, I don't need a light, I don't need someone to tell me that you are there, I don't want logic, I don't want any scripture to tell me you are there. Because I am there, scripture has a meaning for me. If I am not there, what good is scripture? So my existence, that I am conscious entity and I am existent entity, is beyond any means of knowledge. So that's why it says astu. That means it is astu bodha aparokshatra, by the immediate and direct knowledge of this atra in the Mahavakya, direct knowledge astu. So yes, indeed it is there. Tadhapi, even then. So even after listening to this and understanding that yes, there is the Brahman and I am that Brahman, understood. So tadhapi, even then, asau, this knowledge, dudaha, it's not firm, because as soon as the class is over, then everybody's regular life starts again. So it's only in the class or only when listening to Vedanta, he says, yes, that is true, that is true, that is true, but outside the class, that knowledge doesn't sink in. It's not drudham. Drudham means it's not firmly abiding in the knowledge. And Acharya, for that, Acharya, those wise people, so Sravanam Adinam Punaha Iranat. So they insist that you have to keep listening to the scriptures again and again and again and again. Sravanam Adi. Adi means Srotavyaha, Mantavyaha, Nididhyasitavyaha. You have to constantly contemplate, constantly listening to scriptures and the writing, reading, all that. That means you have to spend most of your time on this only. That's what is the Acharya by the Vedantic teachers. Sravana Adinam Punaha Iranam. Punaha means repeatedly has to be employed. How long? How long I have to do this? Until this knowledge is abiding in that. That's what it is. How do I know it's abiding on that? That question is whether is knowledge is abiding or not, is how much I get perturbed from the activities in the world. If I am getting very often perturbed or very intensely perturbed, so the frequency of perturbation and the intensity of perturbation and the recovery of perturbation has to go slowly, slowly. It never goes to zero. Even Mahatma will be getting irritated because of the things don't work, these things don't happen the way it should be happening. So irritation will come, but how long that irritation starts, how deeply it will be disturbing, and that depends upon the maturity of the individual, how long he is abiding in the knowledge that he is gaining. So therefore, it's called the frequency of perturbation, the intensity of perturbation, and the recovery of perturbation goes slowly down as one gets established firmly in this knowledge. So until then means this is a lifelong process. There is no, it's not a discrete moment. Say from now on you are a realized soul, completely realized soul. There is no question like that, because thermodynamically also the purity is never 100%. It's only 99.9999999. It goes into a recurring only, never 100. Why? That is the nature of the impurity, and that's the nature of impurity in the mind also. So mind can never become completely pure however much you do, because that's not possible. But to the degree that it can, one has to strive, and that's what is the Acharyas, that means the great masters, the Vedantic teachers. Sravana Adinam Punaha Iranat. So Sravana Adi means you have to listen and you have to contemplate. Mananam, Savanam, Mananam and Nididhyasanam. Sravanam means what? Constant listening to the scriptures in a prolonged length of time under a competent teacher. How long? Until that how long question is not there. Until it is crystal clear. Whatever the question is, I should be able to know this is the real truth. That is Sravanam. But Sravanam has to be followed by Mananam, reflecting in terms of no doubts about it. Mananam means there is no doubt-free knowledge. If there is a power, electric power going on in the current, he says, what is there? Is a power there? No, the power has been shut off. So how sure are you? Almost 99.999%. Maybe this is a very high voltage otherwise. You are not going to touch it even it is 0.0009, because you want to make sure that it is 100% there is no power there. The same way, it has to be crystal clear knowledge. Until then, Srotavyaha, Mantavyaha, Nididhya, constant listening to the scriptures and deflecting on it and contemplating on it has to be done. And that's why Acharyaha Savanamadinam Punaha Iranat. So the great masters have declared in the scripture itself that you have to constantly listen, constantly keep the mind in this. That's essentially Vedanta Shravanam has to go on continuously. And here he is going to talk about what are the problems also. We'll see. Aham brahmeti vakyartha bodho yavad drudhi bhavet. Aham brahmeti vakyartha bodho yavad drudhi bhavet. Samadhi sahitastavat abhyaset sravanadikam. Abhyaset sravanadikam. Samadhi sahitastavat abhyaset sravanadikam. Together. Aham brahmeti vakyartha bodho yavad drudhi bhavet. Samadhi sahitastavat abhyaset sravanadikam. So here says, why is that? As soon as here, I should know immediately, because it's not something, because it's about myself. Immediate, direct. So it's in the 10th man story, you are the 10th man. He says, then I am not going to sit and meditate, I am the 10th man, I am the 10th man. You don't have to. It's understood immediately, I am what I am searching for, the 10th man, and I am the 10th man. The knowledge has to be immediate, and it should be permanent from then on. But that's not so. And why? Because of there is a lingering of vasana. Raga dveshas are not being completely eliminated, and therefore I still going after objects for my happiness, even though I know that happiness is coming from me. Everybody knows logically also, one can know that the happiness is coming from my own self. There is no happiness in the cup of coffee or a cup of tea or idli or anywhere. But when it comes, I am still going after it because I am hungry. When I get, now I am happy. That means happiness is, I am still thinking that happiness is here, happiness is there, happiness is there. That becomes a raga and dvesha. That is a source for, that is, I like this and I don't like this, and all that goes on, and rat race is because of that. Because I have more likes, I am going after this, and dveshas, I don't like that, I don't like this, avoiding a lot of things and trying to run after things. Whole life I am spending, and because of the remaining raga dveshas are still there, even though the knowledge is clear, it doesn't sink in. It doesn't, I know I am Brahman. That knowledge is not there. So, aham brahmeti vakyartha bodho yavad drudhi bhavat, until it becomes firm. So, question is, how do you know it becomes firm? That means I should not get perturbed easily by the ups and downs in life. Ups and downs in life will be there all the time. Life is a drama. Life, everybody is happy from then on, it's only in the stories. So, life is always going up and down, but the nature of the drama. And drama is to be entertained and enjoyed because it's a drama. So, there always a villain, a hero, and all that fighting will be going on. All that is only, if nothing is there, everybody happy, then nobody is there to say, watch movie there. So, the life itself is like a drama, but if it is drama, there is no problem. Roles will have a problem. He may have a problem as a villain, but outside the role, he is not having a problem, because its only role has a problem. He is an actor, and he is neither a villain or a hero. He is only an actor enjoying the benefits of what he earned during the drama. In the same way, I am an actor playing the role of what? Role of whole life. Husband role, wife role, son's role, in every role playing. Role will have a problem, but I should know that I should not have a problem. Aham brahmeti vakyartaha bodho yavad drudhi bhavet, until it becomes a form. That means I do not get easily perturbed. Perturbation will occur. For everyone, Mahatma also, perturbation will occur. But recovery time will come fast. Immediately he recovers. Whereas a little bit faster, the process becomes faster recovery as one abides in the knowledge. So the perturbation from the equilibrium and the intensity of perturbation and the recovery time back to the equilibrium becomes reduced as one abides in that. So drudi bhavet, bodha yavad drudi bhavet, until it becomes, that means it's a whole lifelong process actually. Samadhi sahitastavad. So along with the Vedanta Shravana, this is Samadhi Sahitam. Samadhi means the avoiding of mind going after unnecessarily things, and Samadhama, Titiksha, all those things have to go on. It means whatever the disciplined mind has to go on, disciplined things have to go on at the body level and the mind level. Samadhi Sahitastavad Abhyaset Shravanadikam. So for Shravanadikam, listening and everything has to be abhyasa, practice. So here the statement is, you have to, even though you have understood, the knowledge will not sink in, you have to continue to listen to scriptures, continue in terms of contemplation, continue talking about it, continue listening about it, continue writing about it, continue, whole life is itself should be this process. So he's going to tell more about this in terms of what are the three major obstacles in this. Let's do chant 99. Badham santihya Adam santihya yadhar. Let's split there. Badham santihya dhar. No. Badham santihya dharjasya. Badham santihya dharjasya. Hetavaha srutena kata. Hetavaha shrutyena kata. Asambhavyatvamarthasya. Asambhavyarthamasya arthasya. Viparita cha bhavana. Viparita cha bhavana. Together. Badam santihya dharjasya. Hetavaha shrutyena kata. Asambhavyatvamarthasya. Viparita cha bhavana. So, badam santi. So there is a disturbation here from terms of what is bottom, what is that which is really troubling, what are the source of trouble here. This is arthasya of artha means that meaning, essential meaning that aham brahmasmi is knowledge of the Brahman. He is having badam santi, are always seen as few of the things that happens here. Badam santi, he Dharjasya hetavaha. So, for the firm abidance in the knowledge, there are few reasons that are being identified here. One is Shrutyena katha. Shrutyena katha. So, the Shruti anekata. Shrutyena katha. Shruti anekata. So, if you go to scriptures, I want to study Upanishad. One Upanishad says Atma was there before creation. In the other Upanishad says existence alone was there before creation. In the third Upanishad, what is there? Ananda was there before creation. So this each Upanishad is telling differently, completely different. So this is Shruti Anekata. There are so many Upanishads, actually 10 major Upanishads, and there are about 500 minor Upanishads, and in fact people are declaring that several Upanishads also. So every Upanishad we are talking about different knowledge is being presented in so differently. So therefore Shruti Anekata. So people listening to Sri, they get completely confused because this Upanishad says something, the other Upanishad says something, Bhagavad Gita says something. So each is stating different things, and therefore this itself becomes a problem for realization. Shruti Anekata is first problem. Several explanations are given by different Shrutis. The second problem is Asambhavyatam. It's impossible. It says, how can I be infinite? It says, you are infinite. How can I be infinite? If I am infinite, why do you feel I am limited? So what I see is different from what scripture is telling me. And you are pure existence. And at the same time, existence can never cease to exist. Says that which exists has to remain all the time. But I am only existing from the date of birth from the womb to the tomb only. I am only there. So whatever I am experiencing is contradictory to what the scriptural declarations are. That's why Arjuna starts crying, only because he thinks that the Dronacharya or Bhishmacharya, his great grandsire, are not going to be there. So therefore, but scripture says they are eternal. How can it be eternal when they are not going to be there, when they are killed? So this experience contradicts the theory of what the scripture says. So this is impossible. Asambhatvam. So how can I be liberated and I am all knowledge because my nature is Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. I am of the nature of pure knowledge itself. How can I be? I feel ignorant. I don't know this, I don't know that, I don't know so many things in the world. I don't know so many subjects also. and my knowledge gets very limited also. The more I study, the more knowledge is getting limited. So there is a problem in terms of from the existent point, from the Satyam point, from the Jnanam point, from the Ananda point. Says, you say I am already happy, but how come I feel unhappy? So my experience is different from what the scripture says. Therefore it is impossible. Asambhavatyam arthasya viparita bhavana. Viparita means contradictory qualifications. In spite of what you say, yes, I agree what you say is true, but I am only this right now. So that is a viparita, means completely contradictory, the experiences reinforcing that I am only limited and I cannot be infinite. And therefore these are the major obstacles, and some of the obstacles are also objectification of the Brahman. Yes, Brahman is there, I understand it. Now I have to sit down and meditate. That means I have not understood. If I had to sit down and meditate that so that I can gain the knowledge of Brahman, knowledge of Brahman comes only through Sravanam and Mananam only. What is meditation we'll discuss later when you talk about Nididhyasanam. So here in this sloka he identified the major obstacles, and then he is going to give a solution to the problem or some of the problems that can be solved. With this we stop. We'll do the concluding mantra. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.